Hey everyone, it's time for our weekly market update and let's jump into the charts, and we're going to start with Bitcoin, and I want to start with a little bit higher view picture. If we go to the weekly chart, we can see that last week we had around 8-9% sell-off, which was actually triggered by the comments from the Fed on Friday. If you missed it, basically they said that there will be a lot more control and there will be a lot more hawkish, so we haven't really gotten out of the inflation issue and many other issues, so we are having hard times ahead of us. And right away the market sold off, and also the S&P and the Nasdaq were down like 4%, around 4% on the day, and Bitcoin also followed suit with a bit more selling off during the weekend, and that's why we closed the week around 9% down. And if we zoom out, you can see that we are still holding lower highs all the way, and we're still very bearish. I would say we're not nowhere near into turning into a bull market. And the question for me is if this area right here between 24,000 and 18,000 will become the next accumulation phase, something like what we saw in the previous cycle around here in this area, or we are actually right here where the volatility is slowly dying off and we're kind of in a waiting mode to see what's going to happen with the economy and if we are going to have a final capitulation right here. You can see this very clearly in the previous cycle that once the volatility was down, there were several months of pretty much a lot of sideways action, and at some point support here snapped at around 6k and we had a massive sell-off in a couple of weeks, and then Bitcoin started forming its bear market capitulation accumulation phase. So I think this is the major question that we have in front of us. Is this the beginning of an accumulation, or if we snap this level around 18k, we're gonna have a capitulation down to the next level, which I would say the major one is somewhere around here, 14k, 12k. You know, this area right here is probably where we are going to bottom if we break this support line right here. I think solid cases could be made for both because this cycle is quite a little bit different from the previous ones, because we didn't really have a parabolic run to the upside and to the target of around 100k, which everyone was expecting on Bitcoin, and maybe potentially we won't have this type of capitulation that we had in previous years, like right here, just because there are a lot more people willing to buy at 20k, and there are a lot of institutions that are getting familiar with Bitcoin, and also BlackRock, which is pretty much the biggest hedge fund out there. It's offering more and more crypto options to its investors, so I think you can make the case that probably we won't have a sell-off to 14k. On the other hand, however, of course, it's the overall economic state of everything, of the economy. You know that we're in a bad situation with inflation and with growth slowing down, so potentially this could trigger a sell-off and to have similar capitulation like we had here in the previous cycle. As always, I'm not really trying to guess, I'm just trying to be prepared, and that's why if we jump to the daily chart, I entered my short somewhere around here when we broke this level of 22k, and right now it's pretty much a waiting game because we could be stuck in this range unless we get a catalyst. We could move back and test this upper range here if, for example, the CPI numbers in the next couple of months are looking okay, and if the Fed decides to increase the interest rates with 50 basis points instead of 75. We don't know, but I think pretty much this area right here is no man's land right now. And what I'm planning to do with my short, so I entered somewhere around here, is to take some profit if we go a little bit lower, so somewhere in this area. So this will be the case where we might stuck around, so I'll probably cut around 50% of my short, and then if we have another setup that will be continuation to the downside, which would look something like this, and then a breakdown for a capitulation, then I might add another short, maybe even a bigger one, somewhere around here. Right now I'm feeling comfortable with when I open the short and when we are right now, so I'm not in a rush to close it. It's pretty much just a hedge for me for now. It's not a massive size. I just want to keep my downside protection, and at the same time I'm prepared to increase the size of this, but also to reduce it if we have something like this, you know, if we keep chopping around in this area for months, and if the scenario where I say that this will be the beginning of an accumulation plays out. So this way I will try to take advantage of both scenarios with this type of short. Ethereum also looks quite similar. We're in this area where we have the 100-day moving average. We also have support and resistance between 1400 and 1700. And I would expect, if price sticks around in this area, to have a lot of chop, and potentially even if we go one leg down, which will be the break of 1400, there is a lot of space here for chop. And the capitulation on Ethereum, I think, will be something if we break this key level of $800 and potentially go down to 400, because this level is the key one also from the previous cycle. This is where we actually turned bullish in the previous cycle, the break of around 400, 500 for Ethereum. Right now, when it comes to altcoins, I'm more in a waiting mode. I'm monitoring several. There are several shorts that we discussed and are kind of playing out. So for example, GMT, as you can see, beautiful breakdown here and continuation to the downside. So if you decided to take this trade, that's nice. Just make sure you manage it properly, because this thing is quite volatile and could reverse. But also the risk to reward here is pretty sweet, because as you can see here, around 10%, there is a lower high here that you can use and cut out of this position if it doesn't go your way. Alice is also getting close to the breakdown level. You can see we have a very nice reaction here. We are testing, and I would wait for a lower high here to see where it will end up. So if we get something around here where you can manage risk, because the other one is quite high here, it's like 25-30% up, and I don't really like to take such kind of trades. Vulcan Forged is another one that is playing out right now. We're actually retesting, and this might be a good moment to enter for this trade, because we have the 100-day moving average also as additional resistance above, and it's around 10% from here. So potentially I think this is a good entry if you missed this short entry right here. Of course, when we're talking about small cap altcoins, make sure you don't go too big of a size, because these things tend to be very volatile, and of course it might be difficult for you to get fills on the prices that you like. Another one that is getting interesting is Sol, actually, because as you can see, we had a breakout here, but it was more like a fake out breakout above this level, and it's not the cleanest setup, so I didn't really take this one. But as you can see, it's coming down to this level that might play out as, again, as a nice breakdown. Again, not the cleanest setup with Sol, that's why I'm a little bit skeptical. But if we get a nice risk to reward here, again, this will be not a bad setup, because to the next level down we have around 30-40%, and if we get somewhere around here. Band is also another one that I have on my watch list, and as you can see, we're just chopping around exactly at this level that I'm looking for a breakdown, and potentially you can see that there's pretty much open space to at least this level around here, which is around 80 cents, and if this plays out, it could also be a nice short opportunity. Also, what I'm doing in the same time, and of course I'm going to keep you posted on every research that I do, I'm trying to look into several industries, like for example decentralized social networks, also of course gaming, and just other projects that are coming into the space right now that they are just launching, because potentially if we start forming accumulation, it will be the best time to start getting into those projects, especially if you have done the work and you believe that they have the potential to grow in the future. And if we get a hype cycle, for example in gaming or in any other place on the market, this could be really an amazing opportunity to make very good money. And one of the best parts that I want to emphasize when you're researching new projects that are just coming up is that they don't really have these type of back holders. And in the case of Band, I'm also a back holder of this coin, but pretty much if, for example, Band decides to go parabolic right now and we turn into a bull market, we'll have all these people, including myself, that bought in these levels and are stuck with the back, and they will be looking to sell at the first opportunity when they're at break even or something. So they will cause selling pressure, and that's why I really like to catch coins when they are right here. And I've done this in the past, in the previous cycle. It's been probably the most profitable trades in my life. And as you can see, the setups here are much cleaner. In the case of Band, it's not the cleanest one, but as you can see here in accumulation phases, it's much easier to set your risk, and they're not a bunch of backholders. They're trying to dump all their coins on you. So this is the market update for today. I hope it was helpful, and as always, if you have any questions, you know how to find me.